Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your host, Nicole
and Hannah. Come join us for some hopeful conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing.
Hey, Hearties! We are back for another episode, and this time we will be chatting about When Calls the Heart, Season 9, Episode 12, Rock-a-Bye Baby. I can't believe we're already at the finale.
I know, it's crazy. In this episode, Elizabeth worries about her relationship with Lucas, while Bill helps Gowan through the fallout of the mine explosion. And Rosemary and Lee receive some news. Ooh.
What could that news be? I love that first scene with Lee and Rosemary at the Valley Voice. She's organizing his desk and she says, "This is such a mess. How does he get anything done?" And she's singing some song. I'm not sure what the lyrics are, but I thought it was really funny. And then
it was
Lee,
funny. It was nice to see, Rosemary just being so carefree and going about, looking about. I can definitely relate to Lee a little bit. I tend to be, with my workspace, I tend to be a little bit messy sometimes. So I definitely understand that, but I also understand order. It's very nice, to keep things orderly. I wish I was more that way, but it was nice.
Yeah.
It was fun to see Rosemary, just singing a song, just, no care in the world.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Lee comes in with hot coffee and he's like, hot, 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 hot. And this is when she had found the letter from Arthur about the job. And Lee looks at her like, "What? I remember the cream."
Lee has no idea what's going on. He has no idea what she's about to say.
No. And then, of course, she confronts him about what's in the letter, and she believes it's something she should know about and have been included in. Lee agrees. He also shares with her that Arthur didn't want to meet with her. He just wanted to meet with him. Ouch.
I know, like poor Rosemary. I mean, this is her passion. Lee's just kind of going along for the ride, and here Arthur is just wanting to meet with Lee.
Yeah.
Poor Rosemary.
Bill and Faith in his office. He does not sound well still, which is really upsetting.
He doesn't. I know. I hate seeing Bill like this.
Yeah, me too.
Ugh. Bill, take care of yourself.
Yes, please.
Please listen to your doctor.
The first thing Faith wants him to do is to slow down. She says, "You work too hard and you work too late." Faith is also ordering Bill a steam nebulizer where he'll inhale vapor through a mouthpiece that, a what? Why am I even bothering? You probably won't even use it, right? No. Well, I'm ordering it anyway. And Bill, go home and rest. Bill's like, "Anything you say."
Once again, Bill, listen to your doctor. She knows. And I love how she knows that he's not going to use it either. And she's like, "Why am I even bothering? But I'm still going to get it anyways."
Yes. Can I just say, I love Gustav. He is awesome. That scene with Elizabeth.
He's so funny. I love it.
I thought it was really sweet how Gustav went to Elizabeth because he's worried about Lucas.
It is very sweet, but if I were Elizabeth, I would be Gustav right now. Like, even though she knows what's going on, I would still be sad. And I would be a little bit nervous about him. But no, she's fine, and it's Gustav who's worried.
Yeah. Yeah. She tells Gustav that she can ask Nathan to ride up to the ridge and try finding him. Gustav says, "The Mountie?" Elizabeth says, "Mm-hmm." Gustav says, "He would do that? Nathan is a very good man. I'd feel much better. Merci."
I have to say, it is nice to hear Elizabeth acknowledge the fact that Nathan is a good man. He's a good Mountie. Yeah. And that he would do it. And I have to think a little bit like, come on, Gustav.
Yeah.
Come on. Of course Nathan would do it.
Of course, she tells him that she still hasn't read the letter. And he says, "You have not read his letter?" She tells him, "No, but I know what it says." I love his next line. "You really are meant for one another."
I'm with Gustav on this one. Girl, read that letter, please.
Yes. And then as he's leaving, he mumbles something in French. I'm not sure what he said, but that was hilarious.
Inquiring minds want to know what he said.
Yes. This next scene with Lee and Rosemary at home, and she's trying to get his attention by holding his nose. That was hilarious.
So funny.
Yeah. They go on to talk about what the meeting with Gilchrist was about. He tells her about the job and where they would have to move, or the places that they could move to. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. Rosemary says, that doesn't appeal to you? Lee says, but this is our home. We love it here, don't we? Yes, of course. Of course we do. Well, it's just always nice to be wanted. Well, that's exactly how I feel when it comes to you.
Oh, so sweet.
So sweet.
Oh, I love them.
Me too. Nathan and Elizabeth's first conversation outside the Mountie office. I have to admit, this was a cute scene, and so was the second conversation.
It was a cute scene, but once again, come on, writers, you're not making this any easier on us.
And Nathan, that was just mean what he said, even though I know he said it jokingly.
I know. I have mixed feelings about this. This is not the Nathan I know and love, but it is funny because it's very Kevin. Yeah. It's very Kevin and Aaron, which I think is fun for them to play. So from that respect, it is funny. But from the other respect, like, come on, Nathan.
Yeah. He's like, about Lucas getting cold feet.
I know he's just teasing her, and he's, he's getting out what he feels because, he was very hurt by her. And I mean, I don't blame him.
Nathan's saying, I mean, wasn't it this time last year that Lucas left town and you went running after him? And now I'm doing the same thing. I think that's funny. Well, I don't think you were running after him because he isn't going anywhere. There's nothing to worry about. I told you. It's Gustav who's worried. Right. Gustav. You can be extremely exasperating sometimes.
I mean, Elizabeth can be too. What goes around comes around. I'll just say that. Sorry. Yeah. But yes, I can understandably so.
I did love Elizabeth's line, thank you for being there for me. And Nathan says, always.
Always. That was sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's true. Nathan is such a good guy that he'll put aside his feelings and he's there for his friends. And, I think that shows that he really did love her, and he still loves her, you know?
He does.
He loves her as a person, and, he's always going to be there for her. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. Mike is stepping down as mayor. What was the point of Mike being elected mayor?
I know. Come on.
Why?
It brought out a different side of him, and I really like seeing that. I know. So when they did that, I'm like, what was the point?
I know.
I mean, it made for a good story, but come on, Hickam.
I would have loved to have seen Mike as mayor for longer than he was.
Stick it out a little bit longer. I mean, I understand. I mean, I have to say, I think of all the characters in Oak Valley, Hickam is probably one of the characters I can relate to the most, because I feel like I have a very similar, I think I would think very similarly to him, and I wouldn't want that pressure, and I wouldn't want to have to change myself and, put myself in that position. So I totally understand where Hickam is coming from. I think I would do the same thing, honestly. But at the same time, it's like, come on, Hickam, you were finally starting to kind of get your groove.
Yeah.
And then he just, I mean, I don't blame him, but at the same time, come on, Hickam. I wanted to see you stick it out a little longer.
Yes. Elizabeth and Rosemary's conversation in town, then in the infirmary. Rosemary wants to know if Elizabeth is blaming herself for Lucas riding off. Elizabeth says no, but that Gustav was concerned, so she asked Nathan to try and find him. Then we hear a baby and a stroller cry, and the two of them see it, and Elizabeth is just like, okay, that's it. We're going to see Faith.
Was it just me, or did that scene remind me of all those other seasons where, Rosemary's just watching the babies, and you can just tell she just wants to be a mother so bad.
Yeah, it reminded me of that too. I thought Rosemary picking up the book, The Prospective Mother, a handbook for women during pregnancy, was pretty funny.
That was funny. This whole scene was so cute and humorous, especially when Molly and Faith come into the infirmary, and they're just like like
No,
covering
no,
their
no.
ears. That was so funny, and I really appreciated it though too, because I mean, I feel like if I was in that situation, I would want to know what was going on. But you know, that's not legal. You know, you shouldn't do that. So I
Yeah.
appreciated the fact that, you know, they covered their ears, and it was comedy gold. I mean, it was so funny. I loved watching that.
Yes, this was a great scene. And a lot of it was comedic gold, except for that last little part when Rosemary is talking about how she hasn't been completely honest with Elizabeth. She says, I haven't been going about my days believing that everything will be fine, whether I'm pregnant or not. And if I speak to Faith, then, and then Elizabeth interrupts her and says that she understands.
Yeah.
Lucas camping and Nathan showing up. Let's just talk about all of these scenes together. Since we're already here. That axe that Lucas was using, that I think is the smallest axe I've ever seen.
I know. It's so tiny. And you know, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Lucas doesn't know how to chop wood. I mean, in season 6, he didn't even know how to work a nail and a hammer. So it was funny. It was pretty hilarious. But at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh.
Nathan,
they went there.
Nathan saying, is that all the wood you've got? Lucas says, working on it.
I have to say, the way this scene was shot was beautiful.
Yes.
And like the scene when they first, at the beginning, when they showed Lucas sitting around the campfire,
that was beautiful.
That was a gorgeous scene. So beautifully shot. And I have to say, I'm a huge outdoor person. I love being outdoors. I love camping. I love campfires. So like this whole scene just like tugged at me. Like it made me want to, you know, get outside and, you know, go camping, because I love doing that. So it was so nice to see like a scene like that with just such beautiful scenery.
Yeah, the view on the ridge. Wow.
I know.
That was beautiful.
So gorgeous. And Nathan was definitely a vibe in that scene.
Yes. Not much of a fire you've got going on there. That's why I'm chopping wood. You must have been cold last night. You've got your tent opening facing west. And then Lucas is like, why are you here?
I mean, I definitely think Lucas should have been a little bit more, you know, just a tad bit nicer to Nathan, a little bit more appreciative. Nathan was really trying in this scene, and I really appreciated that.
I do love how he apologized to Lucas about everything with Walden. That was really nice.
That was nice, but at the same time, I also feel like Lucas could have apologized too for, you know, the way he responded to him. I mean, I get it. I mean, I definitely understand it, but at the same time, I mean, Lucas could have been a little bit more understanding too and apologized for, you know, not being more understanding of his situation before. But I definitely appreciated that Nathan apologized.
Yeah, me too. Nathan asking for a cup of coffee and Lucas saying, I don't drink it. And then Nathan's like, tea then.
That was really funny. I mean, I have to say, I'm Lucas. I like tea. I do not drink coffee. If I do, it has to have a ton of milk in it and a lot of sugar.
Me too.
Because I'm not a fan of coffee.
I like coffee. I just have to have creamer in it. And lots of it. Yeah,
it basically has to be creamer, coffee flavored creamer or milk for me to drink it.
I normally use almond milk. Lucas saying that he's a little low on food, and Nathan saying that's a rookie mistake, not packing enough supplies. Well, I was packing for one.
Lucas.
Oh my goodness. And then Nathan reading the quote from Henry David Thoreau.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lucas came up there because he needed time to think. Nathan says, you think too much or too little. I'm not sure what. Come on, tell me you never need time to think about where you're going in life, where you want to be going. Sure, from time to time, yeah, but I mean, you and I are different people. Oh, I hadn't noticed. Lucas, I'm a Mountie. I have to look at things black and white, good and bad, right and wrong. You know what I mean? It must be nice to have some time to stop and think then. Well, you know, I did bring a bedroll, and I think I packed some extra food.
Nathan to the rescue.
Yes.
I do feel bad for Lucas though, when said, I mean, he really is a rookie. He has no idea what he's doing. So I mean, I like to see, you know, Nathan and Lucas, you know, kind of learning to, you know, get along in this sense, and how like I like the little brother kind of brotherly relationship that's going on here.
Yes, me too. I think that they're going to be great friends someday.
Just like Elizabeth and Rosemary.
Yes. Jumping back a little, the Mounties coming into town, and Henry is in the transport vehicle. He turned himself in.
I have to say,
I'm
I
proud of
have
him for doing that.
a lot of respect for him for turning himself in. That was a big step. That's not an easy thing to do.
I'm proud of him for doing that, but it's still hard to see that.
It's hard to see him behind bars.
Yeah. I loved when Bill was starting to walk with him to the jail and everyone's clapping for him, and Robert says, "Hooray for Gowan, he's the hero." And then Bill says, "What do you know, Henry? You're a hero." That just
was sweet.
How far Bill and Henry have come, because as you Hardys know, it was not easy for the two of them when Bill first got there.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a sweet scene to see. And once again, I kind of saw a little bit of a brotherly thing going on between the two of them in this episode too, which was nice.
That conversation with Allie and Elizabeth, when I was live tweeting, I think I wrote awkward and sweet at the same time.
Yeah. Like, Allie, come on. Why are you talking to Elizabeth about this?
The shade, though. The shade.
I know. I mean,
to each their own, I guess.
Yes.
I love how Elizabeth stopped her, though. She's like, I heard you the first time.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she's like, okay.
Yeah.
No need to go further.
Right. I mean, I feel for Allie. I really do. She really wants a mother. I feel really bad for her. You know, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, okay, Allie, Elizabeth is right. You know, when Nathan is ready, he will let her know.
Yes. She says, "You'll know when your dad is thinking about getting married." And Allie says, "How?" "He'll tell you." "Why?" "Allie, you are the most important person in the world to him. He's going to include you."
I appreciated that she said that.
Yeah, I did.
That was sweet.
Joseph and Minnie at Heath's Pond trying to lay the blanket down, but the wind.
That was funny.
And then realizing their picnic basket is like,
it's either this blanket or the picnic basket, I think is what Joseph said there.
Joseph says, "It's the food or this basket."
Okay, food or the basket, yes.
Minnie wants to know if he'll talk to her father in hopes that they can get past their differences. And according to Joseph, Minnie's father never thought he was good enough for her, which is really sad to hear.
It is.
Bill and Henry at the Mountie office, or in this case, the jail. Bill has made some calls, and the oil company intends on prosecuting Henry to the full extent of the law. 2 felony counts, at least 3 misdemeanors. He is not hopeful Henry won't spend a good number of years in prison. Henry says, "Well, I hear Greenville is pretty swank." And then Bill offers to look up some legal precedents for Henry's defense at no charge, which I thought was really nice.
That was sweet. I think at this point, Henry's just so done. He's just, he's just kind of, whatever happens at this point. He doesn't really care. And it's really sweet to see that Bill does care.
Yeah. And Elizabeth does too, which I thought was really nice to see.
Yeah, it is sweet to see that Elizabeth's always been there for Henry. Yes. I think largely because of Abigail. That's nice to see.
Speaking of Abigail, I wrote in my notes, what would Abigail think of all of this?
I think she would be very proud of Henry.
I think so too. Henry gives Elizabeth the money that Lucas gave him and asks if she can give it to Joseph because of all the good work that he's done with the church, which I thought was really sweet.
It shows a lot of growth from Gowan.
Yes.
To do that.
Really briefly, Rosemary in the infirmary with Faith, and they're talking about pregnancy symptoms. And one of my first thoughts was, wouldn't a missed cycle be a sign to
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Yeah, I definitely question this whole process of
yeah.
figuring out if she's pregnant or not, but it's okay.
Rosemary decides that it's time to tell Lee. Yay, finally.
Finally, I know.
Yes. The scene with Faith and Molly in the cafe. This is when Faith comes clean about her feelings for Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Yeah,
mixed feelings. I mean,
I
I
do
love
too.
Faith
Yeah.
and I love
I don't
Nathan, of
know.
course.
I just think she needs to be single for a while. And honestly, like she doesn't, from everything she said before this point, she doesn't seem like she's even ready. She's not ready to get married. She's not ready, to really be in a relationship, it looks like she just became a doctor. I think she needs to focus on that.
Yeah.
I mean, her and Carson had so many issues last season, and it was largely because of stuff that Faith was going through.
Yeah.
I don't think Faith is ready to jump into this again, and especially since I mean it's understandable. I mean, I understand, and it's nice to see that somebody's actually interested in Nathan. But at the same time, it's like I think she just needs some more time to just figure stuff out. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't buy it quite yet. I think it's a little bit too easy to pair those two together.
I did appreciate the fact that Faith said she believes acting on her feelings would be absolutely wrong and unethical. It's an understood precept in medical school that you never even consider having a relationship with a patient. Molly says rules are meant to be broken. Faith looks at her for a second and Molly says a very bad joke and very bad timing.
I mean, I appreciate it too, but at the
Yeah.
same time, in a town like Hope Valley, she wouldn't
What
be
do
able
you-
to ever date anybody because
I
she's the only
know,
doctor
yeah.
in town. So,
I know that was my thought too. So I mean,
Yeah.
what can she do?
Yeah.
I love the scene with Joseph and Minnie having their picnic in the church. That was really sweet.
That was really sweet. It was really nice to see, somebody utilizing the church in that way. And it just like the lighting there. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Minnie agrees that Lee should have asked Joseph if he wanted to help with the loan. She says, but he was being a friend while showing you he appreciates all you do when it comes to your work. Joseph believes that has nothing to do with her father, but Minnie says it does. Minnie says, you still want to prove to my father you can be a success without him. Joseph says, what's wrong with that? Minnie says, dignity and self-respect are one thing, but pride should never be a motivator for doing or not doing anything. That's really good advice.
Mm-hmm. Very wise words from Minnie.
Yes. I love these two.
They're definitely very sweet, for sure.
Yes. Joseph agrees to speak to her father about going into business with him, but he can't promise anything. Rosemary in the jail with Henry, she's writing a story about Henry and everything going on. And then Florence comes in, and that moment with Florence and Henry was really sweet.
This was one of my favorite moments from the season. I have to say, it was so brief. I wanted to see more.
Yes.
But just the way that they played that, Loretta did such a great job of just like, she really brought it in that scene. Oh, I felt it.
I was wrong, and I hope in time you can forgive me. And then the kiss on the cheek.
I know. Oh, that showed a lot of growth from Florence, for sure.
Yes. Elizabeth then shows up and mentions that Bill claims Henry is the talk of the town in Benson Hills. Rosemary says, what? I best find my story. I don't want to be scooped by a newspaper called the Benson Beetle. What kind of title for a newspaper is that?
Not a great one. That's for sure.
That's almost as bad as Braxton Hicks. Shut up.
I see what you did there.
Henry wants Elizabeth to tell Joseph to come by later. Elizabeth asks how he's feeling. He says, you know the saying, I feel a weight is lifted. I feel that. And one you've been carrying for a very long time. That's what Elizabeth says. Henry says, redemption of any kind has its cost. I knew that when I made the decision to do what I had to do. But I'm I'm no hero. Cleaning up one's own mess is not a hero's work. And then he asks her if she can tell Rosemary not to print the article.
I have to say that line about cleaning up a mess is not hero's work. That gets me.
Yeah.
Henry is so humble in this episode.
Yeah.
And I love it. Oh,
Nathan with the snark and the jokes again. To Elizabeth, try not to lose him like you lost me.
oh my gosh.
I do love how he said you could do a lot worse than marrying Bouchard.
That was really sweet, but once again, what are the writers doing?
I don't know.
Another hug from Elizabeth to Nathan. Why?
Nathan says, you better be careful. People are going to start talking. Florence and Molly?
Yeah. But why?
The eye roll. That was
I know.
priceless.
I mean, it was really sweet, but at the same time, it's like, I'd rather see, Nathan and Allie have a sweet hug than Elizabeth hugging Nathan again. In a purple coat, I might add.
Yeah. Lee and Rosemary in their office and Elizabeth showing up. And this is when Elizabeth tells them not to print the story. I thought this was a great moment between the three of them.
Yeah, it was nice to see, Rosemary be able to put her professionalism aside because we all know she really wanted to write that story. But to see that, friendship is more important. And I appreciated that.
Who cares about the Benson beetle?
Yep.
May Sue is back. Yay.
Finally, but can I say I wish they would have focused on May and Nathan in that scene and not had it be in the background. Because I missed May and I wanted to see more of May in this episode. And so that was a little bit of a letdown. I was a little disappointed about that, but I'm glad she's back.
Yes, me too. Hopefully she will stay in Hope Valley for a long time.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, this next scene, I would venture to say, is one of the best in the entire series. And I was almost in tears. Or actually, I pretty much was in tears. Henry and Joseph in the jail.
I would say it was the best scene. Oh my gosh. Oh.
I'm about to cry right now.
I know.
Thinking about
Henry wanting to pray. Oh my gosh.
My eyes are literally watering right now. Henry literally falling to his knees to pray. That's one of the most beautiful moments.
It really is. It really is. I know. It took him 9 seasons to get to this point, and I think this is just, the ultimate redemption, ultimate surrender, just falling to his knees, taking that Bible in his hands and, admitting to Joseph that he doesn't know how to pray.
Yeah.
And then Joseph offering to teach him and him just falling to his knees and saying, is this all right?
Yes.
Oh, it gets me. Such a beautiful scene. I have to say this is the best scene of the episode. There are a lot of good things that come later, but this tops Lee and Rosemary's pregnancy. I'm sorry. It does.
Oh. Martin Cummins, we've said it before.
Yes.
He deserves, in my opinion, an Emmy for his performance on this show.
Oh, yes. He definitely does.
Another tear-jerking scene, Elizabeth's conversation at home with Bill.
Oh my.
One right after the other.
I know.
Bill pulls out his last will and testament, and you can see Elizabeth
She's concerned.
Yeah.
She's very concerned about him.
Bill says, and I don't want you to be dramatic. I'm not going, wherever one goes anytime soon. So let there be no hand-wringing here. But as an attorney, I do advise my clients to get their affairs in order before they need to. Do you have any more grape juice? Elizabeth says, without asking what Faith said. Bill says, there are things that can help. That'll mean time for me in Union City. So Bill is leaving too.
I know. I want to know what his issue is actually.
I do too.
I want to know what the diagnosis actually is. I mean, maybe it kind of sounds like Faith doesn't even quite know what it is.
The moment between him and little Jack was adorable.
I know, when Jack comes down and he just takes him in his lap and he's like, do you want some grape juice or something along those lines?
Yeah,
so
grape
sweet.
juice. Yeah. The brief moment between Bill and Molly after that scene when he's
that
trying
was
to
such
start
a
the car.
sweet scene. Can I just say it's so sweet that Molly's gonna come with him?
Yeah. Yes.
It was a very humorous scene, but just the fact that like Molly is there for Bill in this way, oh, that just gets me. I love them. I'm sorry. I want to see them get together next season if we get another season, please.
Yeah.
But that was a really sweet scene and very humorous scene too, because none of the Mounties know how to drive a car. It seems. But I also wanted to know, I think this is the first time we've seen Bill drive a car, if I'm not mistaken.
So.
And so I was like, when did Bill learn how to drive?
I know.
Like, this is news to me, just like Elizabeth driving. Okay.
Yeah. Molly's like, that's third gear. Second, you're getting closer. Are you sure you wouldn't rather that I drive?
I know. Also, Molly driving. What?
Yeah.
All these people know how to drive all of a sudden.
The fire, that was an intense scene.
Yeah.
Rosemary calling out to Lee and their embrace when he comes back out. That was really sweet.
I know. Like that was a close one, but yeah. It's nice to see him back in her arms again.
Yes. Mike and Lee helping bring the water hose inside. They're rolling the cart.
Right.
And I love how Nathan goes to the jail and releases Henry.
That was really sweet.
Yeah.
I know. I love that. I mean, the likelihood of that spreading was very unlikely, but the fact that, Nathan, he really showed that he really cared for Henry in that scene, and I really appreciated that.
Gustav helping with the pump, and then Nathan taking over. Mike and Lee holding the water hose, and, they're spraying the water, trying to save the saloon. I loved when Lucas showed up and he called out to Elizabeth. That reminded me a lot of Jack calling out to Elizabeth in the mine, when the beam fell. And of course their embrace and him asking if she's okay. And then Lucas stepping in and helping Mike and Lee.
Right. That was really sweet. Yeah. That reminds me, can we just skip forward to the next day?
Yeah.
Lucas and Elizabeth's conversation.
Yeah, I was about to get to that.
That was a really sweet conversation.
That's probably one of my favorite Lucas and Elizabeth scenes in the season.
Definitely. And I love her line, even if this was all.
Elizabeth says, "To me, you aren't what you do, nor are you the sum of your possessions. Even if you'd come back and all of this had been gone, burnt in the fire, there would still be love." Lucas says, "Making me the richest man alive."
That was very sweet.
Yes. Nathan and May Sue in the cafe. This was a really short scene. But I
wanted it to be longer. But it was nice. It was sweet to see them, catching up at the cafe together, and then to see Allie come in and join them as well. Yes. And just hear that they want to go riding together.
Yes, I was about to say that.
And I love that May apologized too.
I did too.
For not telling Nathan what was going on.
Ned and Florence in the cafe and him showing her the toaster, and she said
she was so surprised. I loved her reaction when it popped up.
Yeah. She says, "Oh, Ned. Oh, you're a slice." And then she gives him a kiss.
That was sweet.
Fiona and Mike outside the cafe. Fiona says, "Although he's decided to step down as mayor, here's to Mike Hickam. Hear, hear." And then everyone is toasting with their teacups. Mike says, "I was only planning for our future by hoping to preserve our past." Fiona says, "Well, that's the platform you should have run on for mayor."
Yeah, right? I know. Although the fire safety thing came in handy. So I said earlier this season, he was the right mayor for the right time.
Yes.
Can I just say, though, what is this about Bill being the new mayor now? He's not even in town.
I could be wrong, but I think in a situation like this,
because he's the judge. Yes.
Yeah. Faith and Nathan talking outside the cafe. So this was right after everyone was toasting to Mike. She wants to know about his headaches. He lets her know that they're better, but not gone entirely. I find it interesting that his headaches seemed to have started after May left.
And when she gets back. See,
Yeah.
I do too. See, that's the thing. I definitely think, I think Nathan likes May, honestly.
Yeah, I do too.
Uh,
Yeah.
I prefer them together.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. I definitely prefer them together. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I do think I'm glad Nathan didn't choose anybody because I think he needs some more time, to
Yeah.
heal.
Molly showing up and telling Faith that they need to chat. And then Nathan noticing Henry's car that she was using and him asking if he was with her and then realizing he doesn't know where Henry is.
I love how concerned he was too. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, my job. I need to find Henry."
Nathan walking into jail.
And then Henry coming in right after with a newspaper and putting himself back in jail was hilarious.
Yes. He's like, "Everything all right?" And Nathan's like, "Everything's fine."
That was funny.
Yeah.
The moment we've all been waiting for.
Yes. Lee and Rosemary at home. They start talking about the fire and him helping, and Lee goes on to say, "I can't imagine living anywhere else." Rosemary says, "You were absolutely right. Phooey on that Mr. Gilchrist and his newspaper chain. This is where we belong." Lee says, "Phooey, that's a good word." Lee says good night, and Rosemary says good morning. Rosemary says, "Wouldn't it be wonderful to raise a child in Hope Valley?" And then she lays down in the bed. She feels the fluttering. She realizes she's pregnant. I love Lee's line. He's just like out of it. And he's
so out of it.
He says, "That's too bad. Take an antacid. You'll feel better." And then
that was so funny.
She puts her hand on his arm. Then the realization hits him and he's like, "What did you just say?" Rosemary says, "We're going to have a baby." And Lee says, "I don't understand." Rosemary says, "You're going to be a father and I'm going to be a mother." Lee says, "Really? We're going to have a baby?" The kiss, I have to say that kiss was really sweet.
Oh man, so sweet. Oh.
Can we just talk about Lee's reaction?
His pajamas though, so funny. I love it.
That was priceless.
So good.
Another one of the best scenes in the series. Yes.
Lee running out to the street in his pajamas, no shoes on, screaming, "We're having a baby."
I mean, not now, but we're gonna have a baby.
He's so excited. It's so sweet. I love seeing Lee like that.
I love how the two women that are walking in front of their house, I love their reactions too.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Rosemary saying, "Lee, put on some clothes." Lee says, "Who needs clothes?" And then she throws him his slippers.
The shoes. That was
and the "I love yous."
Oh, so sweet.
This next scene was really sweet too. The proposal.
Mm-hmm. The final scene, actually.
Yes, the final scene in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Jack is picking up rocks. Lucas goes on to say that he used to enjoy finding four-leaf clovers. For Elizabeth, it was feathers. Call back to season 1.
Yep. Hope is the thing
with feathers. The handhold, I thought that was really cute. The interlacing of their fingers. And Elizabeth talked to her mom, and she hopes they'll be in Hamilton for Christmas. Elizabeth wants them to meet Lucas. He already had a trip planned to Hamilton to ask William for her hand in marriage, but he just called him instead. Can we talk about that for a second? The fact that William gave his blessing over the phone.
Without ever meeting Lucas. I know. That shows growth on his part.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see that scene of Lucas asking.
I would William, have to. When it comes to that, I'm an old soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've always liked when guys do that.
I think it's very sweet.
Yeah.
Yes, very considerate.
Very gentlemanly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how did Jack get the ring in her pocket without her seeing?
I don't know. I think she was so focused on Lucas that I think when he walked up, like what I'm thinking happened, and when I've seen like some other Hardy saying, is I think when Jack gave Lucas the rock first, Lucas put the ring in Jack's hand. I know it was. It's very interesting how that happened because it was a little too perfect the way it happened. I mean, I would have been terrified to give a toddler a ring on a road full with rocks. I would be afraid that he would drop it, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that, but it was a
It was
really
very
beautiful
sweet. Oh no,
scene.
nothing against that part. It's just like I mean, logistically wise, like that was brave of Lucas to like give him that and trusting that he's gonna do it right,
Yeah.
you know? It was very sweet though.
Before I mention what Lucas says in his proposal, I just have to say, little Jack being involved in the proposal was the cutest thing in the world.
Yes, I agree. That needed to happen.
I'm so glad that they did that. My heart was
Mhm.
a puddle on the ground. Elizabeth finds the ring in her pocket and he says, Elizabeth, I've never been more sure that you are all that matters. And I know that you're the one I will love forever. I could never desire anything greater than to be the one that you love forever in return. So if you would, allow me to be a father to your son and agree to be my wife. Elizabeth, will you marry me? Elizabeth says yes, yes to it all.
Can I just say the fact that he said father to your son first?
Yes.
Lucas has come such a long way.
It might just be me, but I heard a little crack in his voice when he said that.
I know.
Really sweet.
That was so sweet.
The kiss and the twirl. The twirl was adorable.
I know, and that was Chris's idea too. That was not in the script. So well done, Chris.
Yeah. Yes. Little Jack saying, did we do it, buddy?
Yes, buddy.
That's so adorable.
I know.
And then the handhold with the three of them.
Mm-hmm. And then walking down the road. Can I just say, how nice was it to end the season not on a major cliffhanger?
Yes. Thank you, Hallmark Channel.
I know.
And writers.
Yes.
As well.
That was sweet. I mean, it was definitely ended in a way where it could have been the last episode.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we don't know if Hallmark's going to renew it or not. Probably will, but at the same time, it's like, what is going on with this delayed renewal? Like,
I haven't been a Hardy from the very beginning. I mean, I wasn't watching right when it premiered in 2014, but I have heard in the early seasons there was a longer wait for an announcement. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed that they do. And even if Hallmark doesn't, I'm sure it'll find a home somewhere else.
Yes, I agree. Speaking of the cliffhangers, or speaking of the term cliffhanger that you mentioned, what were some of your cliffhangers for this season finale?
I think the biggest one is definitely Henry being in jail. That was a huge cliffhanger. That one, Bill, another huge cliffhanger. Nathan and May and Faith was another cliffhanger. Although thankfully the writers have confirmed that they're not going to be doing a triangle with Nathan if the season or the show continues.
Yes.
So that is nice to know.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh, the letter, Joseph and Minnie's letter.
What's going to happen with that? How did the saloon catch fire? Was it done on purpose? Or
I heard in the behind the scenes thing that it was a stove. The stove in the saloon caught fire, but they didn't even touch on that in the show.
No, although there was a shot in the scene the morning after when Elizabeth and Lucas are in there, and it shows the stove. So
yes, so I heard that we're supposed to assume that it was the stove. Yeah, Molly and Bill.
Yes.
What did Molly need to tell Faith?
Yeah, of course, Lee and Rosemary having their child. And Elizabeth and Lucas with the proposal. Although that wasn't a major cliffhanger, it was still a cliffhanger because it's just the start for them. As they prepare to get married.
Yep.
What are your hopes for season 10 if we get season 10?
You know, I just want to see everybody find happiness. Yes. I think number one for me, well, besides obviously Bill being okay and Henry getting out of jail and him finding some happiness, and being able to move on from the whole mine disaster, because I think it is time for that. I really want to see Nathan happy. I want, as much as I want him to find somebody, I think for a little bit, I want to see more Nathan and Allie scenes, because we did not get enough this season at all. I need to see more of them together, more of, now that she's calling him dad, I want to see them really, showing more of those scenes of them together, living life together. I want to see them go fishing. I want to see them do all these things. And I also want to see Nathan get to the point where he realizes that, he has found somebody new. And like I said, I'm not a huge fan of him and Faith together. So I'm kind of hoping, I like May. So I would kind of like to see them get together. I think they would be a really sweet couple. But if not, it would be nice. It would be nice to see, Nathan be single for a little bit and have them bring in somebody, another new person who he sees, and immediately it's like love at first sight for him and that person. Because I think we need to see that. I think we need to see somebody come in who has, no baggage, no nothing, and to just see them like immediately they connect, and immediately she connects with Allie, and it's just right. So like that's what I would like to see. But I think most importantly, I just want to see Nathan, happy and moving on and being good with where he's at with Allie. And so I think that would be really nice. And I want to see, I have a lot of things. I think I want to see. And this season definitely left a lot of stuff open for next season. How about you?
Yes. About the same for me, everything you mentioned. And then, of course, I would love to see more of Rosemary's pregnancy than what we got with Elizabeth.
That's what I was going to say. Yes. I forgot to mention that part. It would be so funny to see Rosemary pregnant and to see how Lee, comedic gold, and to see how Lee handles that would be hilarious. I would love to see that. Yes.
If I'm correct, I think I saw somewhere, it might have been on Twitter, where Brian Bird said it's possible they would show part of the third trimester for Rosemary.
Yes, I heard that in one of the interviews. That is the plan.
That's probably,
that is the plan, that they're going to try to do that, which I think I would love to see that. So I'm glad that they're kind of thinking about going in that direction, because I think, if Rosemary's going to be pregnant, we have to see it, not just one episode. We need to see a couple episodes at least.
Yes.
Do you want them to have a girl or a boy? What are you thinking?
I will be happy with either one, but I think it would be sweet if it was a girl, and then in time, baby Coulter and little Jack falling in love.
Amen. Yes to that. Plus, I want to see a little Rosemary. I mean, how adorable would that be? That would be so funny and so cute. I would love to see that. And yes, it would be adorable. Although there would definitely be an age gap there, but that would be really cute.
I mean, about 4 years. So it's not that big of an age gap. Yeah. So it would be okay.
Bad. But it would be really sweet to see their kids become best friends.
Yes.
So if they had a boy, that would work out very well. Because they could be best friends too.
Yep. So that would work out well too.
Either way. Very sweet. Yeah. Either way, I'm just happy they're finally getting what they deserve and what they've wanted for so long.
Yes. Of course. The wedding for Elizabeth and Lucas. I would love to see little Jack walk Elizabeth down the aisle.
Oh my gosh, yes. That would be so sweet.
And it would be different because when she married Jack, William walked her down the aisle.
Right. What are you thinking? What season of a wedding are you thinking? There's been a lot of debate about this on Twitter, I've seen.
I think a spring wedding would be beautiful.
I think that was the consensus, that it seemed like that's what Elizabeth wanted. That would definitely be very beautiful. But I could also see, I don't know why, I could see fall too, because I feel like there were so many beautiful scenes in the fall, and they got engaged in the fall. So I think that would be, I could also see that, but either way.
Yes.
It'd be sweet.
Hearties, if you would like to, feel free to share your big cliffhangers for this season finale and your hopes for a possible season 10 in the comments below. We would love to hear them.
Yes.
I think that wraps up our recap of When Calls the Heart season 9.
I know, it went by. It flew
did.
so fast.
Can't believe
sad
it's
it's
already
over.
over. I know, me too. Me too. I'm sad it's over.
All right, Hearties. Once again, I think that wraps up our recap of season 9, episode 12, Rock-a-Bye Baby. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. If you are a fan of When Hope Calls, which I'm sure that all of you Hearties are, stay tuned for our recap of season 2. Hopefully coming very soon.
Yes, because it hasn't been announced yet, but once it airs, we will be covering that because we're very excited to talk about When Hope Calls. Yeah.
And Hearties, if you are also a fan of Chesapeake Shores, shout out to the Chessies. We will be covering seasons 1 through 5
and 6
of
Chesapeake Shores coming up very soon. So keep an eye out for our recap of the pilot.
Yes. We love y'all, and we will see you next time. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye, Hearties.